let those who worship evil's might. Beware my power. Green Lantern's light. Alright, it had to be done, and here it is. Welcome to part 3 of the comprehensive reading order of Green Lantern. If you have not seen part 1 or 2, please go back and watch those. Okay, here we go. Everything from New 52 all the way to Rebirth. And welcome back, Minties. Now, before I get started, here is a quick word from our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off the cover price. Cheap Graphic Novels prides itself on packaging your books so they arrive safely and in excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. And check out their bargain bin for even greater deals up to 90% off cover price. And for you Minties, Cheap Graphic Novels is running a special promotion. If you're a first-time customer, let them know you were referred by Near Mint Condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. Now, this is only for US customers. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discounts, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. Now, after the events of Flashpoint, rebooting most of the entire DC universe, only certain parts of the Green Lantern stuff was rebooted, like how Hal ended up joining the Justice League for the first time. This era is now known as the New 52 of the DC universe. Again, we're going to stay away from miniseries unless they impact the main core titles. As much as I love to go on about some of these books like Edge of Oblivion, Convergence, Omega Man, or Supergirl, Red Daughter of Krypton, we have to stick to the main books. Otherwise, this video is going to go on forever. And I won't be going too deep into Red Lanterns or Sinestro comics, but I will let you know where to read them. This is collected in the third omnibus, or it's also collected in trade paperbacks and hardcovers. This begins the New 52, and I can't show you the cover because it gives away what happens at the end of War of the Lanterns. So, speaking of War of the Lanterns, in the aftermath of War of the Lanterns, Sinestro returns to his role as a Green Lantern. And that is all I will say about that. This collects issues 1 through 6, that is called Sinestro. Then we go and read the new Green Lantern Corps book. Peter Tomasi goes back to Green Lantern Corps after writing Emerald Warriors. This is Green Lantern Corps Fearsome, collecting issues 1 through 7. A new menace, the Keeper, begins to march across the space sectors and devouring not only the natural resources, but their entire population. So a lot of races go extinct here. And it's up to the Corps, led by Guy Gardner and John Stewart, and just a handful of Green Lanterns. Obviously, they're going to be severely outnumbered to stop them. Then you want to read Green Lantern New Guardians Volume 1. This is the Ring Bearer. And honestly, the cover kind of gives the idea of what's going on here. All the rings are going after Kyle Rayner, so it's good that my boy Kyle Rayner is still in a book. This one here is actually written by Tony Bedard, so he was the guy that was writing Green Lantern Corps before the New 52, and it's drawn by Tyler Kirkman. So yes, all the rings are going after Kyle, and then the rest of the lanterns from the Spectrum are not happy about that. Now, it is very important to note that during this time, there's also another Lantern book coming out, and that is Red Lantern. It lasted about 40 issues, and it also had an issue 0. And it all started with that book right there, Blood and Rage. They're collected in a total of 6 trade paperbacks, and you can start reading them now, and all the tie-in issues during the crossovers I will talk about as I go on through the books. But anyway, now we go back to this book right here, and this is Revenge of the Black Hand, issues 7 through 12 and annual number 1. The Secret of the Indigo Tribe arc, it also has the Revenge of Black Hand. They're all collected within these pages of the omnibus and as well as the trade paperbacks. So if you want to look at the trade paperbacks, purchase the Black Hand. So it's pretty cool because it has Hal Jordan teaming up with Sinestro, and this is the guy that trained him originally. It's got some gorgeous artwork. The regular artist on Green Lantern is Doug Mahnke. And now this is Jeff Johns' semi-final story arc before he finishes it off. So after reading Volume 1 of Green Lantern Corps, which collects issues 1 through 7, you go back and read Green Lantern Corps Alpha War. This collects issues 8 through 14 and issue 0. And this is the return of the Alpha Lanterns. John Stewart is arrested for committing murder. I'm not going to give away what happens in Volume 1. But now it's up to Guy Gardner and the rest of the Corps to break John out and clear his name. And then take down the Alpha Lanterns as well. And then this book along with this book right here, New Guardians Volume 2, and Black Hand, set up the final Geoff Johns arc. So this is New Guardians Volume 2, Beyond Hope, collecting Green Lantern New Guardians 8 through 12, and Blue Beetle number 9. So it has a small little crossover with Blue Beetle. Odin, the homeworld of the Blue Lanterns, is being attacked by an alien conqueror known as the Reach. And then Kyle has to make some alliances that he might regret later on to help him free them. So that's pretty much what these books are about. And then we have this storyline right here, Rise of the Third Army. We'll go back to the regular volumes here in a second. I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible. Rise of the Third Army, this particular trade paperback, or you can have the trades and the omnis. I just bought this because for some reason during this time, DC decided it's okay to put crossovers in different books and just give a little blurb about it in a page instead of including the issues within the trade paperbacks. It's really quite annoying. So this particular trade paperback collects Green Lantern 13 through 14, Green Lantern Corp 13 through 15, Green Lantern New Guardians 13 through 16, Red Lantern, the Red Lanterns 13 through 16, Green Lantern 15 through 16, and then Green Lantern Corps number 16, and the Green Lantern Corps Annual number 1. So the Third Army is an emotionless drones whose sole purpose is to convert living creatures into soulless beings like themselves. So think the Cybermen from Doctor Who, or I guess the Borg from Star Trek. However, Guy, Hal Jordan, John Stewart, and Kyle Rayner are indisposed. So this puts the remaining ring wielders, along with new Green Lanterns, together for the first time. And they'll take on the Mad Guardians. And they will have to fight off the Third Army as well as the Mad Guardians. And as you can tell by now, Baz is becoming a more prominent Green Lantern. He was a character that was first introduced in the pages of the New 52, and he went on to join the Justice League. Then we have this book right here, The Wrath of the First Lantern. I'll go back to the other numbers, even though they're numbered, right? Like volumes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It doesn't matter. These crossover events hijack everything and mess it up. So I got this because, like I said, it's an easier way to read these stories, this crossover event. This collects Green Lantern 17 through 20, Green Lantern Corps 17 through 20, Green Lantern New Guardian 17 through 20, and the Red Lantern 17 through 20. The First Lantern is a being who the Guardians used to fuel their Third Army. Now this lantern has escaped and wreaks havoc on the various Corps members by sucking their emotional energy because, of course, we have to have a threat like that. This is the final Geoff Johns story on Green Lantern, and as Johns leaves, we are introduced to a new character, Jessica Cruz, who will play a bigger role later on. Now, this omnibus does collect issues 13 through 20 of Green Lantern, and that's all part of that crossover event. But like I said, I like to have the trade paperback there, as well as these numbered trade paperbacks. These are volume 3s of Green Lantern Corps Willpower and Green Lantern New Guardians Love and Death. And Willpower collects issues 15 through 20 of Green Lantern Corps plus the annual. And Love and Death collects issues 0 and 13 through 20 of the New Guardians. And now we are done with this omnibus. And here we are at volume 4, Dark Days. This begins a brand new era for Hal and the Green Lanterns. Robert Vendetti takes over as the writer for Geoff Johns, and Billy Tan takes over for Doug Mahnke as the artist. Billy Tan was an artist that I remember he did a lot of stuff for the Top Cow Studios, and then he went on to do things like Uncanny X-Men, The Rise and Fall of the Shi'ar Empire for Marvel. But anyway, now he is the artist on the book right here. And as the Green Lantern Corps is falling apart, it is up to Hal to reignite it and make it what it once was. Collecting issues 21 through 23, 23.1, 24 through 26, and the Green Lantern Annual number 2. Which takes us right to volume 5. Hey, we don't have to go back and read the other books. No, you can jump right into the next volume. This is Test of Wills, collecting issues 27 through 34. And the focus shifts on Hal and how great of a character he is. I think by now, Vendetti's trying to find his voice for Hal Jordan. And I mean, he almost has it. But there's a couple of scenes in here that I really enjoyed, including one of the best scenes since I've read of Green Lantern since the days of Blackest Night, because that is probably where Green Lantern, for me at least, peaked, is where Hal goes fist to fist with this huge creature and he's not using his ring. I thought that was pretty badass of Vendetti to do that. Now we have a new team on Green Lantern Corps. This is Van Jensen, co-writing it with Robert Vendetti, and Bernard Chang is doing most of the artwork. So this is Green Lantern Corps Rebuild, collecting issues 21 through 27. So with the Guardians gone and the Green Lanterns are all ripped apart, it's up to John Stewart to train a group of new rookies. But they're not just Green Lanterns, there's also ring bearers here that he's training. And then, so like I said, Vendetti is now joined by Van Jansen on writing duties for the book. And Bernard Chang, for the most part, does most of the artwork here. And you can jump on right to Volume 5 of Green Lantern Corps. This is called Uprising. This collects Green Lantern Corps 28 through 34 and the Green Lantern Corps Annual Number 2, as well as the little small crossover event, issues 31 through 33 of Green Lantern. This is the story about the shape-shifting Durlans, and they end up attacking the Corps. And unfortunately, this is also bogged down by another crossover event. And it's just a small crossover event, though, with the Green Lantern. I enjoyed most of these Green Lantern books during this time, but damn it, do I hate crossover events. It really bogged the stories down, and you couldn't really do any character growth on most of these characters, especially the new characters that has shown up since Blackest Night. Now we jump back to Green Lantern and New Guardians Volume 4, Gods and Monsters, collecting New Guardians issues 21 through 27 and Annual Number 2. By now, Justin Jordan has taken over the reins of writing duties, and he is joined by Brad Walker on artwork. This includes the first part of the Lights Out crossover event, which is a small crossover event, but one that you don't necessarily have to read the other stuff for. And takes us directly to Volume 5, The God Killers, collecting New Guardians 28 through 34 and Green Lantern New Guardians Annual Number 2. Now, this particular storyline I really enjoyed. Kyle and the New Guardians seem to have found paradise, but it's not all what it seems, of course. I have to say the consistency of New Guardians remained the same throughout the New 52. It never hit too high, and it was never too low. Now, the events in this book set up another crossover that's about to happen. But before I say that, by now it's important to note that along with 4 titles, these 4 titles including Red Lanterns, we have 2 new ongoing titles. So that's a total of 6 monthly Lantern books. The Larfleeze series kicks off with Revolt of the Orange Lanterns trade paperback, but that only lasted 12 issues or 2 trades. And then we have the Sinestro trade paperback, and that kicks off a series that lasted 23 to 27 issues, including those 0.1 something issues, or the equivalent of 4 trades. But those can be read alongside these books and only have 1 crossover. Well, 2 little crossovers, but whatever. I bought this because, like I said, for some reason DC during this time did not feel the need to include these one-shots or some of these important events in the main trade paperbacks. So this is Green Lantern New Gods Godhead. It collects Green Lantern New Gods Godhead number 1, which is not included anywhere besides this trade paperback. Green Lantern 35 through 37, Green Lantern Corps 35 through 37, New Guardians 35 through 37, Red Lanterns 35 through 37, and the new Sinestro series issues 6 through 8, and the Green Lantern Annual Number 3. So here it is, another damn crossover. This one's pretty interesting, though. When Kyle was a White Lantern, he was able to breach the source wall at the edge of the universe. If you're familiar with the DC universe, you know that's the wall that surrounds the universe. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it. You can... I don't want to make this an 3-hour-long video. So anyway, the High Father of the New Gods has become convinced that the equation can be accessed by combining all the colors of the emotional spectrum through the rings of all the Lantern Corps. But the ring wielders
aren't evolved enough to hold that power. So now he wants them to give up the rings, and that's what this crossover event is about. Now, some of that is included in here because this is Green Lantern Corps Volume 6, The Reckoning, collecting issues of Green Lantern Corps 35 through 40. So like I said, some of this was in the Godhead crossover, but I think it reads better in one event trade paperback. This, by the way, is the final volume of the series, as it ended with issue 40. And Van Jansen finishes his run on Green Lantern Corps. And like I mentioned, although some of this stuff was collected in the Godhead crossover event, a lot of the final story arcs from Green Lantern Corps are not. Which takes us to the final volume of New Guardians, Volume 6. The final volume of the series. It was canceled on issue 40. I guess the sales of this and Green Lantern Corps were not enough to keep the series going. So in the aftermath of what happened in the Source Wall did to Kyle, now he has to re-evaluate his life and find himself again. Now, along with Sinestro and Larfleeze, these are the only ongoing titles. So this is Green Lantern, Volume 6, from the New 52 line, Life Equation, collecting Green Lantern 35 through 40. Some of this stuff was in the Godhead crossover again, and annual number 3. The best part of this volume, though, however, comes at the end when the Guardians tell Hal that the Corps' name has been dragged through the mud long enough, and Hal has to do something about that. So he decides to take Krona's gauntlet and betray the Corps. This is the beginning of Hal's Renegade phase that will go on through the next couple of volumes. So, speaking of Renegade, here is Volume 7 of Vendetti's Green Lantern New 52 run, Renegade, collecting Green Lantern Sneak Peek number 1, Green Lantern 41 through 46, Green Lantern Annual 4, and wait, no, that's it. Yeah, the sneak peek is at the very beginning. Now Hal has let his hair grown out like a hippie, I guess. And Vendetti and Tan continue their run on Green Lantern. And then after the events of Volume 6, Hal is on his own, avoiding the Corps and being a badass renegade. He learns that the Corps disappeared, though, throughout these issues. And along the way, he meets 2 pretty interesting new characters that will play a bigger role in the Green Lantern mythos. Well, as far as the New 52 is concerned. Now it takes us to the final volume of Green Lantern in the New 52. And that is Reflections, Volume 8. And if I'm going too fast through this, I apologize. I got a lot more to cover. So, here is issues 47 through 52. So, yes, it actually ends on issue 52. And the special preview of Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, Rebirth, issue 1. The final volume in the New 52 universe. And as you can tell, it also includes that first issue of the Rebirth series. Hal returns to Earth to check on his little brother, and his little brother tells his ass to get a haircut. He is still looking for the Corps for the last 1.5 volumes. The Parallax also returns in this really weird storyline as Hal tries to get his ring back. And some of the 52 stuff has been wrapping up within these final issues. And honestly, that's pretty much the gist of the story. And then something big's about to happen again to the DC universe. It all begins and ends here. DC Rebirth. This is yet another reboot, and it impacts the Green Lanterns very, very little, like most of these hard reboots. And here we are with Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, Volume 1, Sinestro's Law. Collecting Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps Rebirth Issue 1, and Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps Issues 1 through 4. As you can tell probably from the cover, that we have a very familiar name returning to Green Lantern, and that is Ethan Van Sciver. He does some artwork within these pages. My favorite definitive Green Lantern artist. And then he's also joined by Rafa Sandoval. So Sinestro and his Corps are back. You probably guessed from that title, they always come back. And their word is law. Now Hal must face them alone. Or is he alone? Before we find out about that, you can keep reading Hal Jordan and the Green Lanterns, or you can bounce to the new book, Green Lanterns Volume 1. It's a very familiar picture right there. One from Green Lantern Rebirth when Hal came back. But this is Green Lanterns Volume 1, Rage Planet. collecting Green Lantern's Rebirth issue 1, and then Green Lanterns 1 through 6. Sam Humphries is joined by Jeff Johns with that first Rebirth issue, and it kicks off a new series following the adventures of our two newish, I guess semi-newish, Green Lanterns, Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz, as Hal Jordan ends up leaving them to protect Sector 2814. So, like I said, you can focus on either title, but I wanted you to read the first volume of each. So I'm going to keep talking about Green Lanterns. This is Volume 2, Phantom Lantern. Sam Humphries and Robson Roca are now joined by Ed Benes and, Eduardo Panisica on art. And this collects issues 7 through 14. And while the Green Lantern Corps have to deal with the intergalactic threats, this book shows off more of what's happening here on Earth. As Simon, who's a Muslim, has to deal with hate crimes, and Jessica has to deal with her own anxieties. So this is actually more down to earth than the other book is. But it's not just all about personal issues. They also are part of the Justice League, so they have to fight villains like Dr. Polaris. I always found it interesting that Simon Baz uses a gun. That's always pretty interesting on his character. So anyway, this is Volume 3, Polarity, collecting issues of Green Lanterns 15 through 21. By now, Humphries is joined by Eduardo Panisca. He is the main artist on the book, as the two members are teaming up with the Justice League to take down some Justice League villains. Now we move on to The First Ring, Volume 4. You know, I was hoping one day that we would get a hardcover edition of these deluxe hardcovers. I don't know what the odds are of that ever happening, but it's probably looking slimmer and slimmer. So yes, this is The First Ring, collecting issues 22 through 26. Jessica and Simon are ordered to go to Mogo, that's the big planet of Green Lantern, for their official training at the hands of Guy Gardner and my boy Kyle Rayner. Meanwhile, this cat is making a return. Volthoom, the First Lantern. Now we have Out of Time, Volume 5 of Green Lanterns, collecting issues 27 through 32. This is the final volume by Sam Humphries. This volume does a nice job of wrapping up some of his story arcs that he's been kind of foreshadowing since his first volume. And it involves some of Volthoom that I was talking about in a pretty satisfying way, and finally allows the Green Lanterns to move on to the next adventure. It was good to see the characters get through their personal issues in his 32 issues that he's been writing the book, and make them better Lanterns and more likable characters. Now we have Volume 6 of Green Lanterns, A World of Our Own, collecting Green Lanterns 33 through 39. Tim Seeley is now joined by Julio Ferreira on this title, as Boss and Jessica save an alien race from extinction and drop them on another planet whose original inhabitants take kindly to them. And a terrorist group uses that to start a small uprising, because things never go well for the Green Lanterns. Moving on to Volume 7, Superhuman Trafficking, collecting issues 40 through 43 of Green Lanterns, and annual number 1. Andy Diggle steps in to help with writing duties, as Simon and Jessica are chosen to represent the Earth in a once-in-a-millennium ceremony honoring an ancient hero of the Corps. But of course, there's always trouble lurking for the Green Lanterns as they uncover a secret. And here is Volume 9 of Green Lanterns, Ghosts of the Past. I swear, I'm trying to do this as fast as possible, and then I hear myself, and I'm like, that sounds like a douchebag blurb that's trying to sell these books. Like, I work for DC. I don't get commissioned for this. Anyway, Jessica is getting controlled by her ring, because her ring is going haywire, and Simon has to look for her, and he gets the help of this cat right here, John Constantine. Need I say more? And here's the final volume of Green Lanterns, Evil's Might. This is Volume 9, as Team Seeley steps down as the writer of the book. Dan Jurgens is joined by Mike Perkins and Marco Santacucci to finish out the series. So this collects the final issues 50 through 57. The intergalactic army that destroys planets called the Ravagers are coming for the Green Lanterns, while Boss is being framed for murder. What the hell? How? Someone's always being framed in the Corps. Haven't they learned their lesson? Now, this is the final Jordan before this, and how Jordan and the Green Lanterns get canceled and become one book. Because this guy named Grant Morrison takes over. But before he can take over, we gotta talk about we gotta finish talking about Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps. This is Volume 2, Bottled Light, collecting issues 8 through 13. Hal finds himself undisposed, if you will, in the last volume, and Kyle helps him discover a place where he can meet former members of the Green Lantern Corps. This is a really cool moment here, who have died in the line of duty. And we see the return of some members that we haven't seen in a while. Not the return, but we see cameos of some members we hadn't seen in a while. Taking us to Hal Jordan's and the Green Lantern Corps, Volume 3, Quests for Hope, collecting issues 14 through 21. As you could tell that Ethan Van Sciver does some of the artwork here, but he is also joined by Rafael Sandoval, who actually steps in as the regular artist. So this pretty much is the Green Lantern Corps finding themselves helping the Sinestro Corps to capture rogue members of the Sinestro Corps team. Moving on to Green Lantern Corps Volume 4, Fracture, collecting issues 22 through 29. The Sinestro Corps has a new leader, and it's the daughter of Sinestro. Oh my gosh, what the heck is it? Soranik Natu? Is it Natu? Soranik Natu? I think that's her. And she has made sure that the Sinestro Corps has set aside their murderous ways and is teaming up along the sides of the Green Lantern. But you know, that's gonna end well, right? I'm sure if you've been watching these videos or read any superhero comics, you know, things like that always end well. Now we move on to Volume 5, Twilight of the Guardians, collecting Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps 30 through 31, and 33 through 36. For the most part, you have art by Patrick Searcher on this. And the Dark Stars are back. I don't know if y'all remember those, the Intergalactic Police. But anyway, they're back, but so is Sinestro, because he always comes back. And then Hal and Superman have a team up, and they also run across an old Green Lantern villain, the guy with a big head, Hector Hammond. By the way, what's missing out of this is issue 32, and that's part of the DC Metal Bats Out. Bats Out of Hell, that was it. The crossover with the Flash and the Justice League, so that's not included in this. Moving on to Zod's Will, Volume 6 of Green Lantern and the Green Lantern Corps. It's Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps. Damn, this is why I go on forever. Correct myself half the damn time. By now, Rafael Sandoval is the main artist, with Ethan Van Sciver lending a helping hand. I don't want to give too much away, but this story is pretty badass. Hal and Kyle Rayner are sent to investigate reports of trouble on a planet, only to run into General Zod and his family. So that's his wife and son. So there's some really awesome fights here by Sandoval. This one's one of my favorite volumes of the new Rebirth line. And collecting the explosive series finale, Volume 7, Dark Stars Rising. You still have Robert Vendetti writing it, with Rafael Sandoval doing most of the artwork, joined also by Ethan Van Sciver for these final issues. Collecting issues 42 through 50, the final volume brought to you by the same creative team that started the ongoing series. So Vendetti's run started really weak for me, but by the end of this, it ends with a bang. So much so that I wish he could have stayed a little bit longer to see what else he could have done, or at least have a Green Lantern Corps comic going on at the same time. But he ties up a lot of loose ends that he started all the way back in the New 52 run, and he does a nice job of that. So with that being said, this leads into, that's a badass picture, right? This leads into Grant Morrison's run, which is available in standard size hardcover and will also be available in trade paperbacks soonish. But that is where the reading order is going to end.
That was my comprehensive reading order. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you again to our patrons for voting for Green Lantern. So I hope I was able to help some of you all out. Let me know in the comments down below what I should have added or what I left out. Again, this was the Uncanny Omar. If you enjoy these type of videos, please think about joining our Patreon so you can vote in those reading polls. One for next month is up already. In brightest day, in blackest night. Thank you for watching.